Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to Court of the Rings here on twitch.tv/LotroStream, youtube.com/Lord of the Rings/live, and facebook.com/Lotro. I'm Lotro's community manager, Cordovan, and how's everyone going here today? Yep, I've got a cat too. It just puked up a hairball in the background. Yay. That's what happens when you work from home. So yeah, I'm at home for the foreseeable future here, probably next month or so at least, right? And just going to be hanging out today, doing some Q&A, answering your questions. I could talk a little bit. I actually have something I could say about the quote-unquote lag, so I'll have that a little bit. We could talk a little bit about the bonuses, probably a small patch for next week, and the latest on Update 26, along with anything else you want to talk about. I know we got the producer's letter out pretty recently, so maybe there's something there you want to ask about. And there you go. Good morning, Mary, over on Marie, over on Facebook. Hello, Durin on YouTube. Hello, Haderb, Ski, Seamank, Wayward, Glamdring, Nismet, Druid's Fire, Shoreless, and Marata, Mekmulong, and Kales. Oh, also Kales, I've got a message for you. I've got to I want to get in touch with the D and Co du Milieu because hey, I got a little bit of news for you there. Anyway, welcome everybody. So we're just going to be hanging out. This is the final weekend of the Spring Festival. It runs through the 13th, shut off at the 14th at 3 a.m. Eastern Time. Also, I would just mention that all quest skirmishes instances open through April 30th. You can go to lotro.com/friends for more info on that. The curator is back through April 30th. And the sales this week are stat tomes, regen food, run speed, attack damage boosts. That's through the 16th like usual. Free coupon. Got two of them. The regular weekly coupon is a battle potion of restoration with BATREST as the coupon code, BATREST. And then finally, if you haven't yet claimed all 10 of them yet, you can get a free housing item. It's a pig in a blanket housing decoration with a coupon code Sleeping Pig, now through April 30th, 10 per account redemption. So I think that's really the big news. I'll be getting the beacon out a little bit later. It looks like we've got The Hope putting on a concert this Saturday on Landreval and Polnoluni. Also on Saturday, that's on Laurelin. You can go to lotro.com artists for more info there. Whose idea was it to have the pig dreaming of Bingo Boffin? It was the item creator. They just got goofy with it a little bit. Seemed pretty fun. You feel lost without your second monitor, Elda. Now, meanwhile, I'm actually in a good place because I got an extra monitor. I've got 3 monitors at home, 2 in the stream room. So I actually am enjoying my wider space here. Goldilocks. Is Locher getting a hardcore league? Dave Ruin01 asks on YouTube. The answer to that is a kind of. It's not the hardcore league in that the hardcore league on the DDO side, for those who don't know, is kind of a special server we introduced late last year and did the second season's currently underway. It's a semi-permadeath server where you die once and your character is gone from the server. So we're not doing that. But we are taking the concept of it a little bit for this challenge league that we referenced in the producer's letter and we bringing to you a little bit later on the idea. What did I say? LotroArtist.com is the correct URL. So, are the devs aware of the unbalance of classes? Kims are rating with 7 runekeepers in the group. Runekeepers need a nerf ASAP. Okay. I'm sure our runekeepers will be thrilled to hear that news. I've long believed that trying to balance classes based on perceived requirements for raid makeup is a really bad idea. Because it typically has a lot more to do with the biases of the person putting together the raid group than any kind of actual class imbalance. However, to that end, yes, we know that balance is a never-ending bit of work on the part of a game development team, including ours. No word on extending the free content past April 30th. If we do decide to do something like that, we'll let you know before then. Runekeepers are awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to dismiss the belief that Runekeepers may be a little OP at the moment. That may well be the case. And that would be something that our team would continue to address. We are pretty much always have in the back of our minds that if you don't have anything else to do, you can certainly do class balance work. Unfortunately, it's pretty rare that they don't have anything to do. So. I strongly believe every class needs a nerf except for mine. That sounds about right. But that said, we do have plans to do further class balancing here. Northeast. Okay. That is this way. So, but I don't really have anything to promise. We've got a pretty full plate right now, and I know that one of the things that's going to be competing for that class work time, say, is the legendary item work that we're planning to do this year. So, that's going to matter. But we'll see what we can do in terms of trying to make as many people happy on class balance as we can. I have to admit, I've been enjoying my Runekeeper, although my Runekeeper is only level 69 right now, thanks in large part to the Spring Festival. I think I gained 2 to 3 levels this spring on the Spring Festival so far. When will be the Update 26 open beta? That should be very soon. I have not checked in the last couple of days on the schedule, and I know that, it's a little up in the air in terms of a formal date, but Update 26 is going to be coming pretty soon, and I would imagine that Bull Roar will be hitting pretty near future here. Oops. Dang it, I turned that in again without getting my 10. Gosh darn it. I always do this.
Hello, friend. Could you help me with something?
Oh well. I have not heard of plans to add a whole bunch more heralds to include things like Swan Knights, Zelruka Stout Axes, Erebor Guards, Dalesmen and Rohirrim, Gondorian, that kind of thing. Sorry.
Would you do something for me?
Skio624. As someone who lived in Wisconsin, I know quite what you're talking about. I no longer drink alcohol myself for personal reasons. But when I lived in Wisconsin, I was a huge fan of one New Glarus brewery. And I would encourage any of those who are socially responsible drinkers to check out their particular brews should you get the chance, which pretty much means you got to be in Wisconsin or maybe eastern Minnesota, but for the most part, Wisconsin. Frankly, their Spotted Cow may be the finest microbrew in the United States of America. No, Glamdring, we do not currently have plans to extend the Spring Festival further than it is. It's been here for quite a while. Felnul, we do not have any personal vendetta against creeps. We are aware that PvMP balance is in high demand forever.
What can I do for you?
And it is something that we have not had much chance to look at.
A moment of your time? Might I take a moment of your time?
Would you do something for me?
I do. Oh my god, how lucky am I on this chicken thing? I'll take that. Did it count? Yay! Sometimes I go in here and those chickens are kind of hard to grab. Got lucky. Oh my gosh! I'm super lucky today. Nice. All right. The anniversary event is listed on the Lotro event schedule. I don't have that in front of me right now in terms of when the anniversary event begins, but perhaps someone can head over to the Lotro event schedule and answer that question in chat. Yes, Mr. Alexman, over on YouTube, we have been reading the feedback on the Rohan housing. I could say that it may not be likely we are going to change the location. However, some work has been done to tone down, say, some of the rocks and things like that, compared to what you saw in the kind of early preview, as it were, on Bullroar. One of the reasons that location was selected is because they did sort of a heat map graph to show where the fewest the smallest amount of questing is actually taking place in that region. So they wanted to put it in an area that would be the least disruptive to questing that's going on in the game. Some people want us to get rid of its visibility entirely or move its location, and I'm sorry to say we do not yet have any plans to do that. But we have heard the voices who would like us to. Stay tuned on the details about how we're going to... Whoop, there you go, Tween.
Good day.
Stay tuned on the details about how it's going to work in terms of access to the Challenge League and other servers. I don't have anything to announce today, sorry. Not having much luck on the finding the beers. There we go. So, someone, Meredith, I'm not quite sure what you mean by current legendary servers still haven't had current endgame gear stats fixed. The endgame gear should be consistent with whatever is available on live right now. We don't do a special set of gear just for the legendary worlds. A hunter's unplayable at endgame? Oh no. I better tell my endgame playing hunters that. They might be surprised to learn that. I tried logging them in, and they just put up a hand and say, "Talk to the hand." You said last week U26 beta coming next week. Yes, I did say that, I think. Apparently, I turned this stream into a den of lies. Sorry. I do my best, folks. Alright, tweens. They're just as annoying as in real life, so I think they did a pretty good job of it. No. I'm being mean. Let's see, where is... There they are, they're over here. Oops. What do we mean in the producer's letter with the word mega update? I have to admit that I'm a little concerned about us using that phrase because it pretty easily leads to someone perhaps having an unrealistic expectation about what it can, how mega is, right? I will say this though, what they're referencing in terms of the quote mega update is that this is going to be a relatively level agnostic piece of content. It's going to be content that is meant to be able to be scaled for really any player of just about any level throughout the game, rather than, say, an end game content specific or something like that kind of situation. So that's cool. I think it's also going to be a slightly larger than perhaps is typical sized update as well. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of why that term was used. So I think in general we're talking about a little bit larger in scope and much larger in a much wider sort of playability range for the mega update. Okay, so you're talking about basically redoing all gear when we get to the legendary cap. When we can do that, that is absolutely something that we want to do. You know, as with any kind of rolling update that you're going to get like that, you're going to have periods where the older stuff is either better or worse than the newer stuff based on the balance work being done on the stuff that is being changed. So it's a little hard to... I mean, I cannot, in good conscience, promise that all gear that will always be the best gear based on whatever is at the legendary world. I don't think that's a realistic expectation to have. Gosh darn it, where are you stupid last tween? Gimme.
Hello there.
There we go. Okay. You'd love to go see Deep get the From the Vault treatment. That's cool. Nothing. I have not seen a check-in in recent days having to do with Hunter DPS, and that's about as much as I can commit at this point.
Hello there.
We know that hunters want their deeps back.
Greetings, friend. Will you lend me your ear? Greetings.
Alright, this guy cleared out everything, except I could have sworn I hadn't done the... Oh, I must not have turned in... Oh, yeah, I already did the signs, I just didn't turn it in. There you go. Alright, so now I'm gonna head on over... to Bree and take care of those things. Alright, so I had promised at the start of the show that I would talk a little bit about lag. Clearly that's been a big concern for both us and you in recent weeks. And it's been happening throughout
What do you need?
both of the games that we're playing, or that we support. So what we've been... Where do I want to go? I want to get to... I'm basically going to Dweeland. Pick up that stuff. So we've been working in for, well, really full steam ahead, all hands on deck for about a month or so now, trying to work on lag, everything from the hardware to the software side and what have you.
How can I be of service?
And one of the things that we've been able to identify on the DDO side, we also think will make a difference on the Lotro side. And for those of you who do follow both games, you'll know that yesterday we put together... Oops. Idiot.
Greetings.
I'm so dumb. I want to go to... Calendar was good. Okay. Let me not pay attention to this and pay attention to giving you the information on lag. Sorry about that. So, on the DDO side, we identified, as part of everyone's sort of all-hands-on-deck work that we've been doing here, we have identified an issue with physics. There was, as with a lot of video games, we utilize a lot of third-party libraries to get this stuff done. And one of the more common ones that you may even be familiar with the name of is called Havoc. And the Havoc physics engine is part of the physics engines that drive the game. And as with a lot of this kind of third-party plugin stuff, they update, we update, and sometimes there are halo effects. We've been able to determine that we did a physics update earlier this year in one of our patches, which is having a not insignificant impact on what players are reporting to us as lag. Now, it's not actual lag. It's not server-client latency communication. It's a game engine thing, which has nothing to do with lag, technically. It manifests the same way, kind of looks the same. It's technically not lag. Whatever you want to call it. Let's call it lag. So, we've identified a fix, and it was a pretty risky change to update it. So this week we went and put that change on the DDO side over on the preview server there. And the reason we did that is because it was risky enough that we did not want to put this out on the live worlds without check. And DDO was in a position to go live on their equivalent to Bullroar first. So we did that work. It made a difference, and we deployed it to the live DDO worlds yesterday. So far, so good in terms of the impact it's had. And so what we're doing is putting together a patch, most likely for the first half of next week, that will...
What do you need?
hopefully make a difference on game performance. So expect some release notes related to that. There really isn't much of a release note other than we fix a thing that was causing poor game performance. It's not a silver bullet. As with most issues of lag, there's no one source, there's no smoking gun, and there's no solving it forever. But we're going to make a difference, we think. And that should be going out next week, before Update 26. Halo from the other side. I like that. That's good. That's good. To be clear, the issue is not necessarily with the physics engine. I want to put the blame on the third-party plugin. The blame, so to speak, is how it interacts with our game engine, and that's where the issue came up that we are working to solve. Well, I mean, technically, physics runs most of the game, and if, for example, all of a sudden the physics engine broke, the game would basically not function. So that's about as bad as it can get, Does it break the game entirely? Yes, no. We don't... Typically the answer is not yes, but still, you know what I mean. It's not the kind of thing you're going to just sort of willy-nilly put out in the live worlds, even if you think it's going to work, right? So...
Greetings to you.
Alright, so now I am going to needle hole. Okay. Yeah, Control, just send me a PM on the forums. If you don't use the forums, you can hit Locher up on Twitter. I don't have a favorite class to play. I have not played all the classes, so I would not presume to claim to be an expert. I will say that I personally have really been enjoying my Runekeeper a lot. I've also really been enjoying this champion, so I would probably put those two classes as among my favorites. Yes, Maurice. We'll have more information on that later, but these are going to be the Challenge League and the other kind of Eye of Sauron influenced world will be separate servers. You're going to create new characters on them. Yeah, Squirrel, I saw you talk a little bit about your issue with having to force quit Locher and your character ends up undressed on a retry. That is a weird one. I'm actually wondering if you don't have a corrupted game client or something going on. Nope, sorry, Dolthian, nothing to pass along. My guess on that undressed thing is it relates to why it waits on logout to kind of archive your character. You know, you're logging out in 10 seconds kind of a thing. I think this is what you're reporting is largely related to the consequence of bypassing that particular operation. So what's probably happening is it archives the most important stuff on your character, but since it's frankly kind of a minor thing, and it's just a little display issue on CareGen, I think it doesn't always consistently archive that. When you circumnavigate the process by force closing your client. Temptation, we will have more information about whether or not they'll be, say, from scratch characters, or whether you could theoretically copy over existing characters. In general, I would say we're more likely to go with the start fresh on the new servers than just copy over your existing characters. But I don't want to be 100% on that, because it's really going to depend on the server and what the server's about. On character transfers, we're continuing to work on it. We did some work over the past week to migrate some of the old closed worlds so that we can get those available to you. But we don't have anything to announce. I actually saw on the forums that Despite sort of being asked and trying to give an answer on this just about every week, there was a handful of people in the forums who were like, Cordova needs to stop talking about the character transfer because I keep asking him and he has nothing to say. All he's doing is just, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so, I don't know. As soon as I know more, I will let you know. But maybe I have been overly answering that question on the live stream, and that's the result. I don't know, Dolthian, whether the server that has like the Eye of Sauron thing that we're looking at is going to get a formal beta or not. There's some consideration that you wouldn't want to do that if it gave people a big advantage. We didn't do that on the Hardcore League on the DDO side. I think it kind of depends as to how that server comes together as we get closer to it, to know whether or not we will do a special preview of it or not. I'm tempted to say we probably will, but it depends. It's a little far off in the future. We got some other stuff to get out first. Dark says, do you have to buy the expansions? Yes and no. Currently, the answer is no, because through April 30th, we're offering all, Quest Raids instances for free. So perhaps now's a great time to come on over and check that out and see if it works for you. But typically, you would need to purchase the expansions once that period is done in order to access the content. So in the producer's letter, Nathan, there's talk about a challenge league and another special kind of rules legendary world that we are planning for later this year. That's what that discussion is about. That has nothing to do with, say, server consolidation or something like that. Yeah, I hear the cat too. All right. Hobbit gifts. Gosh, that reminds me. It's too late now, and I don't know that anyone actually likes April Fool's Day anymore.
How do you do?
But I had an April Fool's Day planned to do Hobbit gifts, so that we would redo the Hobbit gift system so that it would return GIFs, or GIFs, of Hobbits. I thought it was funny. Mr. Alexman, if we are going to increase the level cap, we will let you know. I don't think we're updating the level cap this year. I just ballpark that as more likely to be happening with Gundabad, but nothing to announce. Yes, Dolthian. The Legacy of Durin and the Trials of the Dwarves storyline is a new storyline along the line of Black Book of Mordor, or the main epic storyline. Now, we have announced that unlike the Black Book of Mordor, the Legacy of Durin and the Trials of the Dwarves will be free. So, in that regard, I think it aligns more closely to the epic story rather than the Black Book. Thanks, Grounded Eagle. Tannic, I just spent about 10 minutes talking about game performance and lag. So rewind when you're done here and check that out. I kind of like April Fools, although there's a part of me that feels it's more than a little overplayed in the kind of corporate world nowadays. Um, that said, when we come up with something fun, I think we're still going to do it anyway, but not this year. By the way, for anyone who says it's a GIF, you're wrong. You're just wrong. With the legendary item revamp changes patch, what are the main priorities the dev team wants to address? We want to make it easier for people who are just now entering the legendary item system to be able to get where they want to be. We want to provide more reliable methods to update your LI in game. And well, that's short term. And I think long term, we actually have a plan to switch to a more essence-based system. And by that I mean more mechanically essence-based rather than actually using essences or something like that. The underlying code would be a more consistent model with what we're trying to do there. We'll have a whole lot more information. Ultimately, we want to try to sand down some of the pain points while still addressing the mechanical and other needs that the LI system currently has in game. I'm sorry, Kit Kat. You're from Russia and you're having a particular issue with your VIP account. We're not going to email you based on a question into chat to resolve your issue. I don't work for CS. So please get in touch with customer service through help.standingstonegames.com, and they should be able to address your concerns. I don't really have any particular thoughts on level squeezes in other MMORPGs. Sorry. Just isn't really something I worry too much about. It's a way to consolidate populations, from what I understand, when you need to. Above Manwee, over on Twitch, says that they feel they need 1,600 scrolls for their captain. My understanding is that to cap an LI from scratch, you're generally looking at, what, about 300 and some scrolls? So I'm not quite sure why you would need 1,600. Perhaps you can enlighten me. maybe, what, 400 some, 420 some on the high end. So I get that you want, a lot of players want more than one ally, but still 1600, that's like, do you really need 6 allies? Yeah, need is a bit much, prefer is a better word. Okay. One of the things that has always struck me in some of the community is I hear need a lot. And a lot of times it's true, not always. Uh, Prime EXE. We are not ready to talk about the mechanics of how the which one did I miss? I miss a flower pot somewhere? No? Yes? Flowers in the festival garden. Oh. Seven of 8. Oh, there it is. Okay. I would argue that if you are kind of a bleeding edge player who demands that every character in your inventory have 6 maxed allies, that perhaps that's not the median point you would want to use for determining what the right cost should be for a legendary item. I know. Yeah, my kitty is just being talkative right now. You want to say hello to the live stream? Okay. If you want to say hello, there you go. I can get you on camera. Oh, now you're going to not want to be here. Yep. There you go. No. No. Why do you do this to me? All right. All right, let's check that out. It is a big kitty. I have a very big kitty. Yep. Can't get out of my chair. You're not wrong on that, actually. There you go. My coworker is not practicing social distancing. This is true. Yeah. Actually, I know exactly what's happening. There's sunlight. Sunlight outside. There is sun outside, and I am not doing what I need to do. So I need to be taking her outside rather than live streaming. There you go. He is a chunk. It's a she, but she is a chunky girl. Yep. She is from northern Minnesota, from a hardy line of outdoor, basically feral cats that live in my mother's homestead. Takes care of a lot of the mice, shrews, etc. that happens when you live in far rural northern Minnesota. And her name is Miss Elizabeth Bennett. Emma, I don't know off the top of my head when the next legendary unlock's going to be. I'm sorry. Generally, we've been going about every 3 to 4 months, so I would expect that to be the case, which means we're probably on track to do it fairly soon here, but... Dolphian says, do we ever plan to do a stat crunch at some point? To some extent, we've already been doing some of that. Some of the work that Vastin has talked about, and really over what the past years or so, where he's doing, gosh, what's the phrase that's used? I can't think of the name right now, but it shows up in the release notes sometimes as we do kind of stat squishing and things like that, rebalancing the curve for that. So I would imagine some of that's kind of happening. I know my cat really wants me to stop doing what I'm doing and take her outside. Why am I not taking her outside? Yeah. I've had enough bull roar questions that let me actually go and call up a file I need to call up and take care of that question, because I do think it's happening soon. I will have to follow up on the status of the quote fate bug. I don't have an answer for you right now. Now I'm where I need to be. Let me actually call up the Lotro QA team's release calendar. Just a minute. All right. Because I'm trying to access this through our secure stuff, it's a little on the slow side. Okay. Calendar currently has listed for April. Yes. We currently have a U-26 Bull Roarer planned for next week. Could be as soon as Monday, Tuesday. Depends how things go in the coming days. Could be later if necessary. But you can expect that to probably hear news about our first Update 26 Bull Roarer beta next week. And then additionally, we have a patch set for next week to incorporate that game performance stuff that I was talking about. And then finally, I actually saw that Tiber, last Friday we did a Hobnanigans stream on the stream here, and that Hobnanigans stream went pretty well. I actually had a really fun time with it, and it really underscored how some of the older cosmetics are perhaps not priced correctly. So thankfully, Tiber spent some free time doing a little bit of work on that. And so I think we're going to see a reduction in the price of some of the higher-end Hobnanigans rewards. In addition, some of those rewards are going to be added to the buried treasure event, which is set to arrive, if I recall correctly, next Thursday at 10 a.m. And a few of the steeds in there are going to be bound to account rather than bound to character.
Hello there.
Yeah, I had a really fun time doing that. It was actually one of the more fun personal live streams I've done in a while. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time with it. Okay, now I'm looking for Wandering Elves. I don't really see us doing a lot of systemic work on Hobnanigans. I mean, never say never on this kind of stuff, but I don't see us doing that short term here. All right, where are we? Nothing I could share about River Hobbits. Sorry. Is Runekeeper getting a nerf again?
What can I do for you?
Only if it's OP. And since everybody always agrees on the state of power of all classes in the game, that should be an easy thing to determine.
How can I be of service?
Yeah, I would like to make sure that folks understand that I don't know quite where this River Hobbit stuff came from. I guess it was inferred through sort of an off-the-cuff remark that Sev might have made.
What can I do for you?
We haven't announced anything like that, so that's not to say we'll never do it, but kind of any indication that it's like confirmed is not accurate. Oh, you directly asked him about it in the interview? Okay, okay. Maybe I'm wrong then. Did he say, what did he say? He said he wanted to do them or that we are doing them?
What do you need?
Okay, actually, where am I going?
Mega Vonnen.
If I recall, I think my last hobbit, or my last elf, is still in the back corner. Here. How are Runekeepers OP when Wardens clearly do more single target DPS than them? They are OP because some people think they are OP. I guess. Oh, actually, my... There you are. All right.
What can I do for you?
How much more stout are stout axe dwarves compared to normal dwarves? They are 10% more stout. Actually, I don't know. It's a there's lore on it, I think. Nothing to announce on the race change. That is something we do plan to offer in the future through the store.
Well met.
And we have my understanding is just a couple of things we need to work out on it yet before we can offer that to you. But it should be coming pretty soon. Sorry, Mark, on Facebook. We are unlikely to be able to do shirtless stout axe dwarves because of their ability to be either gender. Oh, it's not the dwarves that are stout, it's their axes. There you go. Soft Snake, I have not specifically seen kind of a change list saying that Minas Morgul's weekly Virtue XP, weeklies will be placed into the new area instead. However, it is true that as a general policy, that endgame acquisition system is meant to be the most newest endgame content. So I would expect to see something along those lines. Although I don't know specifically about Update 26. Okay. So, Hadurb, in the producer's letter, we mentioned that one of the things with the Challenge League will be a balance between whether you want to complete deeds or whether you want to prevent others from completing deeds through PvP. And by that, the benchmarks are going to be set in such a way that you're going to have to balance the kind of push and pull of doing things to hit those marks on the server while trying to maybe prevent others from doing it as well. So if you do, as this person says, it's going to be just full of runekeepers one-shotting each other. Well, if that is the case, then those runekeepers are not going to be making any progress on their goals. However, it might theoretically be something that they could do if that's what they wanted to do, rather than actually move forward on gameplay. Okay. And we're going to have a lot more info on the PvP server as we get closer to it. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of the mechanics of it yet. But I think I can answer your question, Squirrel, which is that it is World PvP on that particular World PvP server. That is the plan. It's not going to be you go somewhere to do PvP. It's you go somewhere to do PvP, which is the entire server. Sorry, Florence, I've heard of no plans to expand Bingo Boffin further. about the time we get Runekeeper in the right place, people are going to likely say that we should have been doing Y instead. But that's sort of an ongoing push and pull of class balance, which is why I try not to be too specific about the when and what on class balance, because it's an ongoing, never-ending system. All right. I think I covered all the basics here, so I think we're going to wrap up the show here. It looks like we're a few minutes after 1 o'clock. Corey Olson should be on next with the Tolkien Professor. Druid's Fire is going to be on after that. That's taking place on twitch.tv/LotraStream. I'll be back next Friday on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook with more. The Spring Festival should be done. Buried Treasure event should be on, so maybe I'll run the Buried Treasure event next week. But if not, I'll be back to doing kind of book questing and things like that. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Really appreciate it, and I will talk to you again soon. Have fun.